Okay, man. Whew, I think I got a good one for us today.
Yeah,
Control.
I hate it.
So me too, because at first, my thoughts are starting to change with control. I'll tell you why. But so yeah, I've always hated control because I felt control
Yes,
was so debilitating. Keeps you from
I agree.
being creative, and I'm a creative person.
Mhm,
I hate when people tell me I can't do something because I like to see what my brain can come up with.
mhm.
But at the same time, I know it can also get you in trouble. So I've always respected the people over me that's in my life who has had control over. But one of the reasons I started my own business, my own practice, was because I don't want to be
Exactly.
controlled.
Yeah,
But even with that, you get more controls, believe it or not. Having your own business, man,
that's
there's always something controlling you.
mm.
But recently, my thought on control has changed. So about a year ago, I adopted
Hmm.
I adopted a dog about a year ago.
Oh,
I rescued a dog a year ago. Best dog ever. Doesn't bark. She's sweet. She's not mean. She doesn't try to hurt people or anything like that. I didn't have to do any of that kind of training.
right.
However, she could be a little stubborn on certain things.
Mm.
So I've tried to train her to not jump on people.
Oh, okay.
And when people walk by, she gets so happy.
Oh,
She just jumps like she wants to jump in their arms and wants them to
yeah,
catch them. And it's sweet, but it can also be scary to new people. So I'll try to keep her from
right.
jumping. Another is if take her off leash,
She gone.
she's
Yeah.
gone. Now she'll come back.
Oh, will she?
She'll
Okay.
come back. I've learned to just leave her alone because if you chase her, she thinks it's a game.
Yeah.
I'll leave her alone, and in a few minutes she'll come back.
Mm.
But she likes to run off. Once again, I can't take her places because of this. So what I've had to do is, and so how I had to set up. Matter of fact, one of the first things I did when I purchased the office space that I'm working in is let them know I have a dog and I want
Mhm.
to be able to have my dog come
It's
into
a
the office space for
dog-friendly
me.
facility,
Right.
yeah.
And they were really cool with it,
Mm.
but I just couldn't trust her to do it. So during the daytime, I have to crate her. And
Mhm.
I hate that because I think about how often she is crated at home
Yes.
because she won't listen, she won't
Ugh,
trust my command.
yeah.
And so I've tried everything. We went to doggy training. I did elite doggy training. I've
Okay.
done
Shout out.
all kinds of stuff. I put up electric fences and
Oh.
just little things, just to
No, electric fence is not little. That's big, and that still didn't work?
didn't work. Um,
Oh,
and so, and cause I didn't like, I took it because I didn't like how it operated.
okay.
But, but I was like, I'm to my wit's end, and a friend of mine was like, well, have you ever thought about a training collar or a
Mm.
shot collar for those who really want to
Old
get
school,
old
yeah.
school with
Shot collar.
the shot collar?
Yeah.
So I was like, no, it was like, well, most dogs respond well to
Mm.
it when it comes to training. And I'm like, I don't really want to do this, but I'm desperate.
Mhm.
So I purchased one, game changer,
Yeah.
life changing.
Uh,
I have you can't see her, but she's
right.
literally right
She
here at
chilling.
my feet,
Yeah.
sitting, not getting up. I'm gonna see if I can get her up. Come here, come here, touch. See how stubborn she is? She's stubborn.
She's a
Now,
lifesaver.
watch this. Watch this. So I got my little shotgun. I'm only gonna do this. So you got three levels. You got the tone, which is like a warning. You have the buzz, which is like a little vibration. Then you have the actual shock. I won't do the shock, I promise. But just listen, watch this when I do the tone. Come here.
She became really alert.
Come here. Come here. Evelyn. She don't know what to do.
Uh,
Come here, touch. Come here.
Evelyn is like, bruh.
So she's stubborn. I'm not gonna
She
go through.
says
Now, if
she's
I
stubborn.
promise you, if I was to hit the shock or the buzz, she'd get up.
Problem is you gave a real people name, Evelyn.
Evelyn, yeah.
Like,
But but see, this wouldn't be normal. Normally, she would be all over the place. I
That's
couldn't
true.
I couldn't stop her. She'd be walking around exploring. Now she's kind of at my feet.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. Like, I'm afraid of dogs, although I like dogs, but I remember seeing you or entering into the space with Evelyn, and she would just be ready to jump, and that frightened me, but
Very much
walking in
so.
here today, and she was leashless, and when I walked in, she was just chill.
Yes,
She ain't really paid me no mind. She was like, "Yo, what's up?" Okay, then went on about her business. So, yeah, this collar, it's definitely, like you said, a game changer.
it is. So I've been really contemplating. This is kind of why I'm thinking about our talk today. I'm really contemplating, is that good? Is it good? Like now I have this control over her. She could do way more. She can go
Mhm.
wherever I go. Every day she's going to be near me. She's going to have access to me and not be at home by herself. She can have I'm going to have the confidence that she can have the freedom to go where I set parameters.
Mhm.
Now the sad part about that is that there's a little fear. I mean, you notice it. If I
Yeah.
push
Yeah,
just the
she
beat,
goes I'm like, "Oh,
she
God."
tense up, she becomes alert.
Yeah.
I won't even say tense, she becomes alert.
Mhm.
And I'm like, is that damaging what does so you tell me, like, is your thoughts on that? Is it good? Is it bad? How do we
Ugh.
manage the two
So,
concepts?
I think definitely when it comes to animals, I think we reign over them just no no matter what. That's just my belief. So I do believe that a healthy fear of your quote unquote, your owner, the superior, yes, should be there. But then at the same time, I believe that with like even parents, to children. And I think we had this discussion before. Like I believe that children should fear us, at least initially at certain stages of their lives, because that's what teaches them to unfortunately, fortunately, however you look at it, respect the laws of the land, the societal norms. You can't, for example, be up in the store with me and running amok as a child. Like
Right.
that's not a good look. So I gotta instill in you a healthy dose of fear of what may happen to you by me if you do this thing. And it's no different from what you're doing with Evelyn. So I agree with it on that tip, but
Okay. I knew there had to be a but. I knew there had to be a but.
Yeah, like where I think where we may go with this is like when it comes to the human experience, and this whole notion of control. I'm just kind of like, well, who gives whoever the authority? And who says that whatever these things are aren't acceptable? Like that's where stuff really gets wonky to me.
Right.
And I don't like control in that way.
So it has to be something. So like the relationship from master to dog.
Mhm.
There has to be some higher guidance, in my opinion,
Absolutely.
to the lower species that needs the guidance.
Correct.
So we obviously, even as humans, need guidance because just as much as we can create, we can destroy.
But I need it from who?
A higher power,
A higher power, but
for
who
sure.
gets to determine who that higher power is?
The higher power.
But the higher power, okay, not so 'cause I'm not a religious person, but in my mind, the higher power is only God.
Right,
Okay?
that's what I'm saying.
That part is cool, but that ain't what we dealing with, right? On this planet, we are dealing with all of these men who are the supposed higher powers that impose their subjective beliefs and limits onto us in the form of, what we'll
If that's
call it
what you
control.
believe,
What you mean? That's what we that is what we live
are
in.
you saying that because you don't see God?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that because there are social norms become social norms for a reason. Like that's
Sure.
all instilled into us through men.
So yeah, we can have definitely negative influences. So if I
Mhm.
bring Evelyn around other dogs, those dogs can definitely sway her.
Mhm.
That's why I have to have more control than those other dogs have. So,
Mhm.
for example, my sister lives across the street, and she has this little carrying dog called Chi Chi. And when Chi Chi comes out to play, oh, Evelyn, she does backflips.
Really?
Literally, like she's twisting in the air. She's jumping up
Uh-huh.
about 4 to 5. I've never seen a dog jump that high.
Yeah.
Twisting in the air, all this stuff, happy as a lark because she wants to go play with Chi Chi.
Mhm.
And this is our potty time. So I'm like, nah, you can't play with Chi Chi right now. You can play with Chi
Right.
Chi later. But before I had this collar on, she'd be over there with Chi Chi. Nothing
Mhm.
I could do about it. I just had to let it be.
Mhm.
She's over there with Chi Chi, and they gon' interact until they're done.
They gonna do what they do. Okay. Yeah.
But now, because there's a certain order to things, I can dictate what's best based on what I see, not
Mhm.
versus what she sees, because
Mhm.
she has a limited capacity.
Agree. Yes. I just said she's a lower species, literally.
Right.
That is what she is.
And
Yes.
I get afraid of saying that. Like, but it's just the truth.
Mhm.
She's a lower species.
Mhm.
We may be a lower species, or we are a lower species, I would assume, to God.
Oh, it's a guy, definitely. Yes.
Right. So,
Uh-huh. But not amongst each other. And that's
not
my
amongst each
issue.
other. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. So like
Yeah.
who gives whomever the authority out and I'm not talking about God. I'm not talking about God.
Okay. I see
But
what you're
who
saying.
gives whoever the authority when we are all the same species? We all have the same capacity in terms of
Makes
like
sense.
ability. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we should relent or submit to the most high, not to a man.
So, okay. So, what about wisdom and maturity? So, going back to children to parent.
Mhm.
A child is just as much human as a parent is, but the parent has experience and wisdom
That's real.
that will guide that child in areas that child may lack in.
Mhm.
So, yes, I get it. Man has put controls over men, and some in bad ways, but we also got to admit in some in good ways.
Right. Yeah, I have difficulty really admitting that, but yeah, it's good. That's just my own
There's been
personal
some
thing.
good, yes.
But
Think about it. Think about it. We used to live in the Wild Wild West.
uh-huh.
Okay. And in the Wild Wild West, you could literally, for a lot of different reasons, kill a man.
Right. And they did. Yeah.
Now we put laws, or let's think about child labor laws. There used to
Mhm.
be a time where kids, and I don't know if I disagree with it. I think sometimes we need this with some of these kids. But there was a time, a 12-year-old kid may not necessarily go to school because the parents need them to work.
Incorrect. Okay, so absolutely right, and thank you for bringing me back to that because even the illustration or the example that you just brought up, it made me think about like even child marriage in many countries and stuff, and how
Right.
at least in the U.S. that is outlawed. You cannot a grown man cannot marry a 12-year-old girl. Like they used to.
Right.
So that control, I definitely subscribe to and agree with. Um, so yeah, thank you for
So
that.
then the people who are in control need to be held to a standard of wisdom and understanding. They need to demonstrate that they
Mhm.
have a wisdom and understanding that will get us to where we're trying to go. So, and sometimes you can choose who your master is.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like with business, I'm not going to pick someone who's never had a business or
Mhm.
who has failed at business several times
Mhm.
over and over again. You know what I mean? I'm going to go try to find someone who's been successful
Uh-huh.
and who's been in business for a long period of time because
Right.
they have demonstrated the markers of wisdom that I'm looking for. Then I'm going to yield control
Mhm.
to them and say, okay, I'm going to trust you.
Mm.
It doesn't make any sense sometimes what you ask me to do, but since I've seen your success and I
Right.
know I have no wisdom or understanding or experience on this,
Mhm.
I'm going to yield to you and I'm going to allow you to control the narrative to see if I can get to where you've been.
Yeah, until I get my footing, and that's what I believe is, say, the diabolical or the negative part of, like, our society. It's like the power dynamic never shifts. The control dynamic never shifts. So it's like, yes, we have to submit to this quote unquote superior whatever, but then when do we get to where we've had enough experience, we've learned, gotten enough wisdom where we can take ownership of our
I think we do. So I used to run this camp for boys up in Tennessee.
okay.
And so we get the most roughest behavioral acting kids you could think of was coming to this program.
Mhm.
And so in the beginning, like when I first got there, you know, the staff had to do 90% to 100% of the discipline, right? So we had to keep a strong eye on all
Mhm.
these kids, couldn't give them an inch because they was always trying to take them out.
Yeah.
But eventually we created leaders amongst those kids who have demonstrated a mastery of the rules, and we
Mhm.
made them group leaders over small sections of the kids.
Okay.
And so now our workloads become less because now we have these group leaders who would keep their little group of four
Mhm.
in check. They do the work for us, and then we just pour into them as they
Yeah.
poured into them. And then the group leaders had junior assistants that was amongst them that they plugged that they were mentoring to become leaders. Eventually, at some point, there were less troublemakers
Mhm.
than there was those
Right.
who were trying to go was on the same page with the mission.
Mhm.
It would be the new kids. It'd be one or two. So we would always we'll spread the new kids out amongst the seasoned kids,
Right.
and we would have less and less problems because the cycle was developed where the staff taught the leaders taught the junior
Mhm.
leaders taught the newbies, and it just kept
Right.
going like that.
Yeah, and then there's some sort of like this progression, this reward that happens that's given, I guess, to these young people for passing, I'll just say, these tests
Right.
showing that they are capable. And so that
Hmm.
inspires the next generation or cycle of kids also, I want to be that. So let me do,
Yeah.
whatever it is that I need to do to attain it.
Privileges.
The privileges, thank you.
Right.
But where do we see that? So yes, that's a really great example of like some stuff that, but like where do we see that in, I guess, like society as a whole? When we think of like control and stuff, like when is there ever the progression
So
that
let
comes
me
with
say that needs
privilege?
to be set up better.
Okay.
There needs to be a reward system for levels of maturity. I do think we get certain privileges. I don't necessarily I think they become arbitrary. Like you can drink
Mhm.
at 21. You can
Word.
drive at 16.
Word. What is
All of
that?
those are called privileges,
Yeah.
driving privileges. And yeah, true it is, but now it's kind of become arbitrary. It really
Mhm.
doesn't have the same meaning as it does because you almost feel like it's a right to pass. Oh, I'm
Right.
21, right? I can drink. No, it shouldn't be just you could drink because you turned 21. It
Yeah.
should be now you have the access to do it if you have the
Correct.
maturity. Because, I've seen 40-year-olds who should not ever drink,
Okay. Yeah.
or go out, because they act like little kids,
Mhm.
and I think that there should certain privilege. Like I know people who are in their 20s shouldn't be driving.
And I agree with you. So what's coming to my mind and listening to you is like with that 40-year-old who should not be drinking illustration. What I'm actually hearing from that is the fight against control that we see. Like people are going to always push back when they feel confined, when they feel controlled. And so even something as simple as, I mean, literally like minute as I can drink because I am of legal drinking age, the control that I now take back is I'm gonna get wasted. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just
Right.
saying I think that's kind of maybe how people tend to try to find some sort of control in a controlless environment.
Sure, but if there are more people in agreement with the structure of the rules and are okay with the way it is accessed and managed and monitored. Like,
Mhm.
for example, going back to my dog, if I use this as a tool to punish, I'm
Mhm.
angry today, so I'm just walking in and I'm
Right.
shocking the mess out of you because I'm mad, then yeah, then
Yeah.
I'm wrong for that. But if I'm using I'm hoping I get to the day, only thing I ever have to do is the warning button.
Right.
All that's what matter of fact, I love to a day where I don't even have to need this. I walk
Yeah.
and just with certain commands, she is right where she needs to be. And matter of fact, if I was to get more dogs, she'd be the leader of the pack.
Mm, mhm.
She would like, "Hey, don't do that."
Okay, she done graduated. Okay.
Right. And I think as a society, we need to create that. And I think we do need to
Right.
have, like, for example, and I know, oh man, y'all about to get into it on the chat, and that's okay. But let's talk about gun laws.
Okay.
So I don't even know if there's an age when you can own a gun. I think you could be 10 and have a BB gun,
In
or 22.
Alabama,
Like, I
child.
don't even think, I think it's just an
Yeah.
American right. When you were born, you can be handed a gun.
In
Self defense. If
Texas.
you can pull the trigger, you can, hey,
Lord.
I get it. I get it. But listen to me. You should not have access to a weapon if you don't understand
Mhm.
and can properly use the weapon because it could kill you.
Yeah, it's a deadly
I'm not
instrument.
going
Yep.
to hand my daughter a gun just because I'm saying you have the right to have one.
Mhm.
I'm going to teach you how to use it.
Correct.
You know, I'm going to demonstrate how to use it and make sure that you know how to use it appropriately
Right.
and not in bad ways, not with bad intentions, and understand the consequences of your actions. Because a
Mhm.
lot of these kids don't. They play video games and they think this thing is a game.
Right.
And so, and before I let you, you would have to demonstrate that I understand how to operate from a mature level and I
Mhm.
have the maturity to use this weapon or this tool, not
Yeah.
even a weapon,
Yeah.
this tool effectively.
And I agree with that, and that's definitely identical in terms of principle and reason that whoever it was, created the 16-year-old is when you can drive, get your driver's license. So they believe that by that time, you have, I guess, earned enough maturity that you understand that you are getting behind a deadly weapon. A car
Right.
can be that, so you have to have whatever development in your brain, that you understand this major responsibility,
Right.
right? But where the problem comes in for somebody like me is I don't like that some random person gets to decide that for my child. Like, why can't I be like, my child is actually 12 and understands this better than this 16-year-old. So why can't I say, yes, you may drive?
And I think that should be that is true if we made sure parents knew how to parent.
Mm.
See, it all
Now
goes
that's what
down.
I'm finna
See,
blow up the chat for.
we have lost the tutelage
Mhm.
of passing down responsible behavior
Mhm.
to the next generation. I
Right.
think we've gotten too comfortable allowing people to do as they will.
Mm.
Like, hey, just do what makes you feel good. Or do what you think is right. As
Mhm.
long as you ain't hurt nobody, it's okay. But there's a lot to it. Like, there should be, oh man, this once again, I know the chat is gonna blow up, but we are responsible as human beings, we are responsible for each other.
Mhm.
And I truly believe we should not be doing certain things. We shouldn't be creating even life before we're ready.
Irresponsibly, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I think parenting is such a necessary, not a necessary, but an important job.
Super.
It is an
Yeah.
important job that it's not something that you should just do willy-nilly.
Right. Right.
But we have removed even the training we did do with, like, shows like Father Knows Best, The Cosby Show. Yes, I
Yeah.
said The
Yeah. Oh,
Cosby
I love The
Show.
Cosby Show.
You know,
Love it.
even real life things like what's the not Leave It to Beaver, but that was a good
I
one,
don't
Leave It
know
to
that
Beaver
one.
good. But they always whistle in the beginning, and it was the father and the son. His dad was a cop. Mayberry.
Oh, Mayberry. No, I don't do that. You talking about Family Matters?
No, no,
That
no, no.
one? Oh, yeah.
Family Matters was a good
If
one.
they don't look like me, I don't really know them.
I
The
got you.
shows. So I don't know.
But people know what I'm talking about when I said
Yeah.
Mayberry. But like there was what where the wholesome training, like we look at it as
Mhm.
like the television shows, but where's the wholesome training? It's been replaced with all kind of concepts.
It is. It has been.
It's been
Yeah.
replaced.
Yeah. And like so like I think like one of the maybe like dark truths is that I think I believe at least the vast majority of us got here by accident. And let's just keep that real.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
True, who
most
actually
of us.
goes and planned to have this many kids?
Right.
Billions? We're in
Me,
billions. Are we in the trillions? We're in
maybe
billions. I know we're in the
right.
billions.
I
Like
I think
who
most
planned
of
to have
us.
5 billion?
Like, word, a word. We just kinda got here a bit irresponsibly, yes. But, we rose to the occasion. Even myself included, having a kid at 18, it was like I was so not prepared. I didn't have no education, I ain't had no job, I ain't have, nothing to give that child. But because my baby was here, that's what motivated me, to
Right.
become ready. Now, granted, my story is not like a lot of people that I'm sure we both know, who do have these children unplanned and they just, for whatever reasons don't rise to the occasion. But yeah, I think that there has to be like maybe this sense of grace given because it's like we have these rules or whatever, but it's like these rules are there for control. For what exactly? Because most of us really don't even adhere or subscribe to it. It's just we're all reacting.
And I think that's because we don't have a respect for the rules, because the rules have changed. See, you can't respect a rule that keeps changing.
Now that is definitely true.
If I tell you you can't go to the store after 7 o'clock and you come to me at 6:59 and
Mhm.
I know you're gonna be late begging to go to the store, and I say, okay. And then next thing you come in at 7 o'clock and say, can I go to the store? Then 7:05, then 7:10. Eventually you get upset when I say, hey, it's 7 o'clock. You can't go to the store. You're like, what are you talking about? I've been going to the store at 8 o'clock every day.
Right,
I
right.
think over time, I think what we have done is compromise rules that we know work to the
Okay.
point we forgot why they work,
Mhm.
why they're important. And I think, yes, now our society will say things like, who these rules, these arbitrary rules that people put in place because they've lost their meaning.
And again, I understand and I can agree to that. So like, there was one point in my life where I was really looking forward and planning towards moving towards to Europe. And I started researching, all of the little, lessons and social norms and stuff like that about, I was specifically targeting Germany and Italy.
Yeah,
And one of the things that I learned is how important Sunday is for a lot of Europeans. That's considered like just the family day. Like
right,
most of the businesses are shut down and everything. So it's like you do your grocery shopping oh Saturday, before Sunday. But the reason they did that is because that's time for you to spend with your family. Like they are Europeans, at least Germans, maybe I should say, and the Italians that I looked up, family is of the utmost importance. And so they're kind of like the country's way, the government's way of forcing this family time.
right,
Now, if that was the culture that I grew up in, I believe I would definitely respect Sunday where I didn't have access to anything, for example. But if they was to implement something like that here in America, where I'm used to doing whatever the hell I'm gonna do, on whatever day, I would probably fight against it.
right.
Yeah.
Cause you're like, how you gonna control my Sunday?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and stuff. But I think we gotta see this is where my problem is with us as humans. We're so bent on just being selfish,
Mhm.
which is
Oh,
one
we
of the
are.
lowest levels of
Yeah.
maturity.
Mhm.
One of the lowest levels of maturity is just taking care of your needs.
Mhm.
That we can't see beyond what is immediately good for us and
Yeah.
not necessarily what's good for everyone.
Mhm.
And I think as long as we do that, we're gonna always be at a low level of understanding maturity and togetherness.
Mhm.
because we're too busy unless it's going to take a major catastrophe because that's when we all come together. We all
Yeah.
start coming together when we got a common enemy.
Right. But I think that's kind of the gag though, right? Is that we've always had the common enemy. And I mean, not to I'm not trying to go too dark or try to, go political or nothing like that, but there has consistently been a common enemy that we
Yeah,
have
but we're
allowed.
comfortable.
You said we're comfortable.
But we're
That's the part.
comfortable.
Yes, we do not want to be inconvenienced. I always
Right.
come back to that. Yeah, and
That's
that's
it.
that selfishness.
That's
Yes.
it. Selfishness.
Yes.
We don't want to be inconvenient. So we'll wait to a catastrophe, something that forces us, and then all of a sudden we ready to fight and ready to get back
Right.
to normal. But it shouldn't have to take that.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't have to take that. I think because I believe we're gonna go back to this is all a cycle. We're gonna go
Mhm.
back to the importance of family. We're gonna go back to the importance of taking care of one another,
Right.
following rules.
Right.
But what is it gonna take? It's gonna take us to go to an extreme place before we like, "Oh, man, we gotta get it together," you know?
Yeah.
Why does it have to do that? Why can't we just say common sense says, "Let's do stuff that's gonna benefit mankind, not just myself."
Well, I imagine that we cannot do that because we have, and when I say we, am I speaking broadly to just humans? I probably want to um, zoom, zoom in and say, I'm gonna say the people in the West, Americans. Okay. I believe that we have lost so much trust in the people whom we have elected to
Yeah,
have that control. So, for example, using Evelyn again, um, even with the control that you have through this shot collar, there is still a level of trust that that is created in her to you, her owner, her master, that, okay, if he says this is what he means, I could trust it, let me do it. We don't necessarily have that in the powers that be, on the entities that control us. And so it
yeah,
almost forces us to have to only look out for self because we can't trust those who are paid to look out for the collective.
right.
And so that's why, in my mind, at least, when there is something catastrophic that happens and we have been trying to trust those in charge to handle it appropriately and treat everybody, humanely, that's when we realize, like, you know what, look, we gonna have to come together. We all we got.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Hmm.
But give me an example because I wonder, have we given those entities a chance? I know, just give me an example of us not being able to trust them.
Okay, so because this is like everybody's talking about it now, Hurricane Katrina,
Yeah.
because that documentary that, Ryan Coogler was the executive producer on, he did really great,
Mhm.
has, come out and everybody's watched it. I believe that it brought back to the people's minds just how the government failed them.
Mhm.
The people of New Orleans. And it got to the point where the people of New Orleans had to take care of the people of New Orleans,
Right.
because they were sitting there idly, waiting, pleading, begging for their government to save them. And the government did not. So when you say, have we given them a chance, over and over and over and over and over again, in the smallest to the largest of scenarios, I believe we have.
So I agree with you, but I don't think it should have been them saving us as much as them being involved with, "Hey, here's the plan.
Mhm.
We're gonna work together to execute a plan. This is what's needed." Like we pay them a lot of money. We pay our government a lot of money
Mhm.
to make sure we are governed in a way where we can look out for each other, the way that we can be safe to protect us, right?
Mhm.
And so in a catastrophe like this, what should have happened is and I think the government fell because they didn't have a plan. I mean, they allowed for days, they allowed for people to go unrescued and all that good stuff. They didn't
Mhm.
have a plan. And I think what happens is it's like when you own a business. When I first opened up my practice,
Mhm.
even though I hired therapists and I hired staff, I was doing 90% of the work
Right.
because I felt like no one could do it but me.
Right.
I had to do it. And I didn't incorporate my team. Now is different. Now, I'm divvying up to my everybody gets a part of the big picture. I want everybody to see the big picture.
Mhm.
And I think that's one thing government doesn't do is we don't know what the big picture is. We don't know what you're trying to do
Right.
other than line your pocket because a lot of them don't want you to see what they're doing.
They don't.
Everything seems
Yeah, the
underhanded.
gatekeepers. Yeah.
Everything seems behind the scenes in closed door meetings. Everything seems secretive.
Mhm.
And so how can I trust the mission if you don't let me in, you don't let me see it, and I don't play a part. And the only thing you want to do is just come in and control the narrative. So
Right.
when you don't do something, yeah, I look to you and I blame you.
Right.
Cause you've been this whole time like, I got you, I got you, I got you. And then when something happens and we sitting there waiting for you to get us,
Right.
I think that puts both of us at a disadvantage.
It does. It does.
What I would encourage the government to do is to stop being so secretive,
Mhm.
at least to its people, and say, okay, we're going to partner. The government is just an oversight of the big picture. We are representatives of all of y'all to see a big picture for where our country can go,
Mhm.
and then we're going to assign our communities to play their role.
Right. So what you're saying reminds me of something that I experienced just recently. However, I do want to speak to go back to the whole Hurricane Katrina thing. So when you said that they didn't have a plan. So at least per this particular documentary, they did speak to how they had practiced, they had exercises like a year, 2 years prior to Katrina. So they did have a plan.
Okay,
They just did not enact it. And of course, people like myself, because, it's predominantly Black people, that's what I'm going to take on. But what I had a scenario with my family where I was talking to my daughter, 23 years old, and I was just sharing the scenario with her, my frustration about this other relative and stuff, and asking, like, what well, I don't even think I was asking at this point, but I was just sharing what needs to be done for this relative. And my baby had the most brilliant suggestion and perspective that really helped us. But it was one that I could not have come up with on my own,
right.
right? I was so accustomed to governing this thing, controlling this thing from my level, right? That all I could see is I got to get this relative help in this way. Well, my baby came in and was like, "Well, yes, she does need that. However, maybe we could take a different approach that's more empowering to
Yes.
her." Right? And I mean, my head was blown listening to her, and it ended up being a plan that I went with, but the reason that I'm pointing this out is because one of the fundamental things that I see wrong with the control of the people who have the control is that there's never an interest in somebody else's vantage point, their
Right.
perspective. When you get so accustomed to, like I said before, governing and controlling things from this high level, you miss some of these other details that could really make the situation so much better. And so it's like when we even talk about the progression of the young kids that you worked with, the graduation, I'll say to, being said the troubled kid to the kid in leadership, it's like
Hmm.
where do we get something like that from? When is it that the little peons, in
Right.
society get to contribute to their community?
And so I think it's at the level of their responsibility.
Okay.
So, like, even with the group leaders, they were leaders over the things they were responsible for. So there was leaders over the room staying clean. There were leaders
Mhm. Mhm.
over getting to the right point in time. They wasn't leaders over what we're having for dinner.
Right.
They wasn't the leaders over what we're going to teach you in school, but they were leaders that were over what they were responsible for. And so as a community, I feel like if we can all get a picture of the big picture and we know what we're responsible for. Like in my community, I'm responsible for the overall mental health.
Mhm.
That's the plight I took. The mental health of my community. And so, I want to lead. I want to be a leader in anything mental health. That's why I
Yeah.
do these podcasts. That's why I do seminars and outreaches. I just did one this weekend about grief.
Mm.
I do these things because my role as a leader in my community is to make sure your mental health is stabilized. And I
Mhm.
think we all have certain key components that we bring to the table
Mhm.
into our leadership. And we need to take pride
Right.
in our community, in our culture, our country. We need that pride again. And we need to establish our maturity in the areas that we're in.
So what I hear from you is that essentially in every community, subcommunity, subcategory, whatever, there is this, I'll just say just this higher hierarchy and the levels to how we give back, protect, take care of our community. Okay. And so for you who is, non-political, you're taking care and ensuring the health and safety of your community is through mental health. Okay. So, and I think that that's great. And I believe that. And then I think on the next level would probably be a more political concept, which is like, and I don't know, all the terms, but like maybe a councilman, a congresswoman,
Right.
something like that who was able to impart change.
We have the structure in
Right,
place.
we have it.
We have it.
Yeah.
We have the, congressmen to
Mhm.
um uh um the person that's over the state, not the mayor, the
Governor.
governor.
Mhm.
Then you have the mayors, and then you have those
Right.
that are also in that leadership and councilmen and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I know that they try, but it's not at a level that really hits the masses,
But
at
how
least from what I've
not? Because
seen.
they have actually more access to the masses than, say, I do in my little community and you do in yours.
But, have you ever met your governor?
Never.
Have you ever had a conversation with your mayor?
No,
Do you even know who your councilman
I
is
don't.
for your district?
Mm-mm. I don't even know what district I am in. That's a Jasika thing. That yeah, I'm the first to say, but yeah.
But do you know how many people it's because they're not touchable. See, what
Is
I
that
used to
it?
look, when I used to work at Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Mhm.
And the research we would do on mentorship is if you can give an hour of uninterrupted time once a week to a child, you can dramatically change the
Mm,
direction that they're going. And one of the things we learned is a kid needs to touch success.
mhm.
We used to have this thing, touch success. They need to see. They can't just see a person driving in their car going past their neighborhood
Right.
and dreaming about wanting to have that. They need to be able to touch that person in that car driving by their neighborhood in a nice car. Because
Yeah.
guess who they do get to touch? The drug dealer who could
Real
buy
talk. Right.
a Mercedes Benz.
Mhm.
They literally touch them. They see them. They see them sleeping in their neighborhood. They
Mhm.
see them coming
Yeah, I have
by,
access to
talking
these
to their
people.
friends, knowing saying hi to their parents.
Right.
They see them. So even though they may be going and getting it the wrong way, they see them. So it seems obtainable
Mhm.
for them. But to see someone who has a PhD, some of these kids ain't never even touched
Mhm.
or know a person who had a PhD, and to see one to up close and personal have access to how they did it and to see that they're human, you gotta allow them to touch
Mhm.
success. So I think our higher ups need to do training that touches us. You can't
Mhm.
just sit in your palace
Mhm.
and govern and only talk to people you fundraise. You only gonna talk to people who
Right,
have money.
exactly.
You only talk to people who have money, you know? You gotta you gotta take the time to make sure you are really protecting and training your community
Mhm,
and making sure the people below you are doing the same, having those initiatives. And don't get me wrong, I know they have great initiatives because I know our councilman here. I remember one councilman, not Showers when he was here, but there was another guy who, and Showers probably did too, but there was another guy that did reentry for prisoners. So those who are coming out of prison,
mm,
they'll make sure they can find a job. They can
yeah,
make sure that they can connect with their families. They can make sure that they got a good start so they didn't
mhm,
go back.
right,
And that's great. That is a reactive great program.
mhm,
But and I want to, and there's other organizations, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and all that good stuff. But I want our leaders to really be aware and and guide the masses on a
mhm.
more
I was
personable
just about to say that, yeah, yeah,
personable level. I want to know your name. I want to
mhm,
have met you. I want you to show up at one of my basketball games.
mhm, mhm,
You know,
and
or
I see that.
I want you to be. I want you to be touchable.
Yeah,
I want you to be touchable. If you too scared to allow us to touch you in the wrong profession,
agree,
you need to get out of office.
mhm,
If you are too afraid to let the lowly of us touch you, if you're too afraid to go down to the homeless shelter and feed without a camera crew,
mhm.
you get out of the profession. If you can't sit down and have a conversation with those who are down and out and encourage them to how to get out and to teach them how to get out. And if you not rocking with parents who are struggling.
Yes, I think there's something to be said about, these, our people in politics, our councilmen and women, congressmen and women, who are not, um actually a part of the community, and I think that's really what you're saying, like, you need to be involved in the community. Just
Yeah,
because you have an address, in this district doesn't make you a part of the community, and so when you are in these meetings and you are controlling narratives and you are controlling resources, but you don't really know what's actually needed, like, what your community is up against, I do believe that that's what also ends up causing us to lose the trust, going back to that, in your, ability to control. And I think
right.
that's why, even kinda tying it in, why a lot of us end up fighting back, you
Mhm.
know? So, like, how do we, I guess, tie this all together? So I think the initial thought was like, is control necessary? Like, or,
So
is
for
it?
so for me, where I'm at with this is the right control is necessary. I think there's good control and there's bad control. And I think the good
Uh-huh.
control is the one that is trying to protect us and get us to a higher level. You're trying to do something. You're setting up boundaries to protect our community,
Mhm.
not to take care of yourself,
Mhm.
not to feed yourself, not for selfish reasons. And so I have to consider, why am I doing this with my dog? And I'm doing this is because I know it's not healthy for my dog to be caged up all day long,
Right.
only getting a little bit of time with me when I have some time. But it's better for her to feel she's a part of the family.
Mhm.
She can be a part, she can learn, she can grow. And right now, she may not feel like, oh man, like I feel like I can't go and just roam and run.
Mhm.
But I think in the long run, she's gonna be like, man, I am having way better connection. I'm getting way more love. I'm way more tolerated
Mhm.
than ever before. Like, this is good.
Right. But I think, like I said earlier, that is because, and I hate to keep, harping on the dog, 'cause it's a different species, but I think the principles are the same. Like, that is because there has been trust established, and then outside of that, there have been rewards. And I
Right.
think a lot of us, now just human to human, we don't get the rewards. And we're like, I'll create my own,
Yeah,
you know.
true. And so rewards is so fickle. Because what are rewards? Like, is rewards money or is rewards acknowledgement?
I mean,
What
it
reward should
could
we be
be, but
getting?
even using Evelyn, right? So, like, her reward was she has more time out, just being able to roam and explore. And I think that's a major reward because that is how a
Nah,
lot of us
yeah,
learn. That's how
you're
we
right.
get in touch with the world
Right.
around us. It's just being able to have that freedom.
You're right.
But it's like what we end up finding in our human society is that it's just one control after the next, after
Right.
the next, after this. No reward, no freedom.
So in some European countries, maybe I think like Italy, they take a lunch break. The whole
A real lunch break.
city.
Yeah.
The whole city shuts
Ain't
down
nobody
between
checking for them.
12 to 2.
Right.
They are taking a siesta.
I
12 to 2, they're taking a siesta.
Yeah.
It closes down and gives you time to,
Mhm.
and that's like, because I know a lot of people are like, man, I need money, 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 money. But you cut 2 hours out, that could be good money. But honestly, what benefits do you probably get
Right.
having a 2-hour siesta
Mhm.
where you could just go talk with friends, you can
Ellen.
kick back for a minute, nobody's trying to
Yes.
hustle and bustle,
Yes.
you could just sit out on the line and
Mhm.
talk, that really connects us,
Right.
and I think our government has to think about things like that, not just like, "Oh, we're gonna just work people to death,
Yeah, grind you.
grind,
Like,
grind, grind."
yeah, and that's it.
And just even with debt, like,
Mm.
they allow, people to get in
Sure do.
to so much debt, and I get it, like, you wanna be able to do whatever you wanna do, but if I'm really looking out for you and I know you're not mature enough to
Mhm.
understand money, you shouldn't have access to get into so much debt. I
Right.
know people who have $30,000 jobs, but hundreds of thousands
Okay.
of dollars
Yeah.
in debt.
Yeah.
How can you have more debt than you make in a year?
Mhm.
Explain that.
Mhm. We can't.
You should not be able to accumulate more debt
Right.
than you can make in a year.
And I know, like, what you're saying, like, it reminded me of, when I went to Jamaica and, one of the tour guides that we had was explaining to us how, like, everybody who owns a home in Jamaica, like, it is their home. There is no mortgage,
Right,
okay, on this home. This came out of
right.
their pockets, and so as their families grow, they add on to the homes through their paychecks, what they earn. Again, no loans, none of that. He also explained that they don't have welfare, and a lot of people can look at that as, a good thing or a bad thing, but whatever they get is based off of what they earn. And so,
But nah,
yeah,
that makes total sense. We should not spend more money, should be in so much debt
right,
when we can't get ourselves out of it. Because
right.
now that's the type of control
Yes.
that's bad, because now that control is actually more of slavery.
Mm,
Like, I'm going to take
yeah.
advantage of you. I'm gonna suck
Yeah.
everything out of you that I possibly can.
Mhm.
And so my control with Evelyn is to give her freedom,
Mm.
not to put her under thumb and keep. I don't want to lock her up in a cage.
Yeah.
I could lock her up in a cage and that's it, and just look at her when I want to look at her. But I don't want to do that. I want her to be a part of the family. But
Right.
in order for her to be a part of the family, she has to act accordingly.
Mhm.
She
So I'm
has to.
controlling you now temporarily so that you can have freedom later. Free
Right,
roam,
right.
free agency.
So
Okay.
that you can have free. My
Mhm.
control is giving you freedom.
Mhm.
And so I think we got to consider that as a community, as a family, as a culture, we can't be afraid of control. We need to be afraid of what type of control
Mhm.
we're actually yielding to. Because I think we're going to
Right.
be controlled whether we like it or
Yeah,
not.
we will.
It's
Yeah.
just, what are we yielding to? What are we creating? Are we developing control that will bring freedom? Are we developing control that brings slavery.
Mhm.
All right, man, this was a good
That was
topic.
good, yeah. That
Good
went better than I
topic,
thought.
good topic. I
Mhm.
wanna hear your thoughts out there in the chat. I would love reading your comments. We really wanna get some engagement that'll help us continue to do this, encourage
Yeah,
us to
different
continue to do it,
perspectives, opinions, yeah.
for sure. All right, this is The Deep End with
Mm.
John.
And Jasika.
We'll see you guys next time.